Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's January 15th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly, just for those that don't catch the video every day, that only catch one or two a week, just a reminder, in case you haven't heard me yet, I'm going to be leaving for an extended vacation for my trip to Antarctica on Friday, this Friday. So tomorrow will be the last chart lesson that we have for the next 3 weeks, I believe. So I will be out and on vacation and unable to complete a chart lesson. So um, anyway, just a heads up. I'll put out a final reminder tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. But let's get into today's chart lesson. You can see we had a strong rally today. I mean, really strong rally. And as you noticed, it did close inside that trend channel line. I mean, you could draw this. I mean, I believe that's drawn correctly. It's possible it's a little steeper than that. Maybe it's more like that. But I don't think you could argue with it being right there where I had it. And so it's not a convincing close outside anyway. So either way you look at it, we did close through the midline. So maybe we're going to go higher here. We shall see. Um, but as of right now, I would say this channel is still in play. And even if it's not, we'll probably get a retest of the lows. If we did get a close outside here, we'll probably get a retest of lows. Now, we could go higher before that happens. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If we get more follow through and we get a close outside, then I will start to get a little more excited about maybe this rally being over. But as of today, we were very oversold, so it was time for a rally, and we got it. A little bigger than I expected. I wasn't expecting a day like today. And really, again, most of this move came in the overnight. Let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and before I get into all that. But you can see it there on the daily chart. We did have strong support here, and when it broke through, we got way oversold. And so you would expect that to fail and reverse back up. And it doesn't mean we're going to rally back into the range. What it may mean is that we simply have a temporary failed breakout, almost like you almost always do before we turn lower. So we'll see what happens. But there it is on the daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and we'll take a look at it and work through the trades. And here's our 2000 tick chart. And you can see most of that news, I'm sorry, most of that move came on the early morning news of the CPI. And I don't know what was different from today than before. I think we rallied before, but the market kept rallying today. So, and if you look here, we most all that movement came prior to the 8:30 open, and then we were mostly sideways. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call this a range day because we did end up breaking out the low side and pushing higher, but we closed back in here again. So um, it was it's not a real wide range. There's a lot of choppiness here. This is not an easy market to trade because it looks like it's a strong trend, then it looks like it's going to sell off, and then it looks like it's trending again, and really you're just going from high to low in this range. Now we did get another breakout at the top up here, but it failed as well after 230 and traded back into the range, and you can see it acting as resistance once again. So literally from 8:30 on, um, we opened right here at 8:30 to our close. It's only 22 points, but overall for the day, from where we closed yesterday to close today, you're looking at 100 points. So 80 points of that came in the overnight session based on this CPI news up here that shot the market straight up. So just keep that in mind because that does make a difference. The day, as bullish as this day looks on that daily chart, doesn't look so bullish here. It just looks really choppy and mixed. And that's what I would say. We had a pre an early morning rally that went sideways the rest of the day. That's the way I would describe this day. So anyway, let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades and then we'll wrap this day up. And you really had to be a little patient before you started trading today. But 7 o'clock came right in here, and you had to just sit tight and wait on this news. And boom, it rockets up. And this was another one of those 179 ticks in that bar. Absolutely insane. So it rockets up. And what this is a spike and channel up. Normally, I wouldn't trade any of this up here. But when you get a second entry long, right off what looks like a key entry point from the spike in the channel that went into play, I think you have to take that. Because you get your first two swings and it confirms it right there, and there's a second entry, and there is room to the high to scalp out. So you got to be careful with these. I went back and forth whether I should make this green or blue, but I think that you have to take this trade on this really strong spike. I mean, this is a strong trend still, and it is right up until it turns down right here, and you didn't get much warning. It just suddenly shot down, and so that's why I'm telling you, you have to be real careful with these. I'll mark this one, but you could easily argue that it's green or just skip it all together. So but this, you're still riding the highs of this news at this point, because this is only, I mean, this bar happens at 7:44, so it's not even 15 minutes since the news happened yet, since we got this spike up on the news. And so you're still riding that news here, and so I think that's why I like that one, because it's obvious that we're in a strong trend. I mean, this is a big spike up, and then you go into this channel, and then suddenly you get and there's a possibility there's another channel here. I drew it. Is there an overshoot right there? I don't know. It fits either way. And then it looks like you would be getting some resistance there this way. So I don't know which is right. It doesn't really matter. We still end up going higher and making a retest of the high, so I don't think it really matters. What matters is just making sure you draw your stuff here. Now there's another second entry right here at this key entry point, or at this midline. And that's like a minor key entry point. It's not like this trend line down here. And I'd wait. I don't like entering on these, especially, when you're starting to fold over here. I would wait, because prices are probably coming back to the main trend line. Now, if we'd bounced off this midline multiple times up through here on pulling back to it, that would be different. But this is the first time. I just sit tight, wait. And then prices, you actually get another leg back. I didn't measure them to see if they're measured moves, but they're probably going to be really close. And they're actually perfect measured moves back to the trend line. And then you're just chopping sideways. I don't see any entry I like there to go long. We get a close outside. We try to go higher, and we're just chopping along. And then finally you get a failed break lower. I didn't mark this one. You do get a higher low here. I didn't mean to mark that one. And you could argue this is real close to being blue. I made it green, but I think it's real close to being blue. You could almost argue for this one to be green, because you get that failed breakout, but you always are better off to wait on the higher low, which comes here, and it does close back inside. The problem is there's just not a lot of room back to that high. And I think there's enough to get out, but you don't have a whole lot to play with there. I think it's enough, so you could almost argue for that to be blue. It doesn't matter. It ends up going much higher, but you just don't know that in advance. And so I just felt more comfortable with it being green and seeing if we get another trend working higher here. And of course, we get a close outside real quickly and a new high, and then you're just chopping sideways. This is nothing but congestion. Don't enter in this. I didn't draw it, but you just got another. Really, you probably have a measured move there. It just goes higher. And then you get a little failed break out of that. But needless to say, then you turn down, and you do have a trend line here that I don't have on here as well. It's right here. And you get a close outside and a new low. Um, I don't know if you can call that a double top. It's just sideways congestion. So to me, that looks like two legs down. I like this as a second entry. You do have, it does give you the break of this down channel. And that was the other reason I made this green, because you have that down channel. I forgot to even mention that one. We've got so much going on here that I missed it. But you got a down channel, and so you're going long right into that trend line. I think that's the main reason I left that green and didn't like it. Wasn't comfortable with it being blue. It ends up working, and then we come down. You get two legs down, so that's a second entry long. I like going long there, that far away from the EMA. Again, you're better off to wait on the higher low to be sure. So I did mark that green, and that's probably the move of the day. That thing just takes off. And you could have ridden this all the way to the top with little or no pressure at all. I mean, that was the trade of the day. And you get a close outside here, and really your trend down doesn't start here. And so you get another two legs down, and that looks like a second entry long to me. So I like going long just to retest these highs on this, even if this bigger channel out here may not be confirmed yet. You're just playing this shorter term stuff, and this one played out to the downside, and you're still looking for a retest of the high to the upside, and boom, off it goes. And you don't have anything but first entries up through there, and then you get your close outside and two legs up. Unfortunately, you don't really get a setup to go short there. You do get another two legs down, but that all looks like one move down, and it turns out it is. You get a break and new low, and so I like going long there. Again, I made it green just simply because it's not a second entry. If that'd been a second entry too, I'd probably made it blue. But wait on, see if you get a higher low, which this has moved a little bit to get a higher low, but still, I think you can take that trade there with it breaks lower and fails and turns up. You could actually go long right there because that's a totally bearish bar, and so it's going to act a lot like a trap. And it gives you a couple legs up, and then you get a second entry short there. Technically, by the count, it's not a second entry, but you can clearly see there's two legs up there. And we don't quite have a measured move, but there's resistance across here, and it looks like a little failed break above that resistance too. So I like that trade as a second entry. You're way away from the EMA, and you can see the dangers here. It ended up going higher, but you easily scalp out of this. There's more than enough room back to the EMA there. And I did make that green because we weren't to the highs yet. You can see you got over 3 points there. We do run up again, and I don't think you want to risk going short right there on that breakout. You need something better than that. That looks like congestion. We are way away from the EMA. But wait and see if you get a lower high, and you just don't get one. It just starts working lower again. And it does set up this next trend line all the way down. It took a while to get a setup. I mean, this is all too choppy. There is a second entry short here, but you don't really have that trend line confirmed yet. It doesn't confirm till this move. And so this all just looks sideways congested. It's not a perfect signal bar. I think it qualifies for a short, but I'd just sit tight. Finally, you get a move up, close outside, new high, and that's a second entry short. I like going short there. You might have said, hey, we got a lower high here, but that signal bar is no good. We run down here, and you get this little double bottom off of the trend line, and it confirms that trend line. You got your first two swings. I'm trying to get it all in here. Such a big chart. So much. It's gotten so volatile again. But you can see that third touch was right there. Let me get it zoomed back out. So if you'd had a good signal ball here on this higher low after a break and new low, I'd say go long. But that signal bar is not good up. But it runs up. You get a close outside new high. And you might even argue there's a triple test there. At this point, this would have been lower. And you can see 1, 2, 3. And that's a second entry short. because this is a double bottom, so that would be a new count starting right there. First entry, second entry. And you're looking for, you're not necessarily looking for a retest of the low here, but with that playing out that quick, I think you're okay to take that trade. See if we come back and test this trend line again, which we do. And you do get a second entry long there. I felt like that one was a little congested. You got 3 bars in a row. At least one of them has no body or a tiny body. But once again, it's one you might take because you can argue there's a triple test there as well. And it just runs back up, and then it's pretty obvious we're in another trading range going sideways. No chance to get short there. You get your close outside on this move up and then 2 legs up. So I like going short right there. And I would have adjusted this at that point, just probably back up to there. And you've easily got a triple test, quadruple test. I like going short there. And it runs all the way back to the bottom. Now you got a triple test. This one you could almost argue to be blue. It makes a lower low here, although it closes back inside. Now, the problem is you're still in this downtrend channel, so I think it's only fair to make that one green. And you see it doesn't take off. It comes back real quick. I think you might have scalped out of that, but it comes back. And you get a higher low, but you don't get a very good signal bar, and it just reverses, and now you get the breakout. Now, there are 2 legs down here. But this was a retest of this, in my opinion, and not another trend. That's the reason I didn't draw that. But you could still go ahead and draw it if you want. And you can see you get to close outside new low. And there is a second entry long there. I just don't like that signal bar. And then it turns down again. And I don't think you can go short there on a first entry. Turns out to be a really good move back down to test these lows again. But actually, we don't quite get to those lows. It kind of bounces where we did previously, and it takes it a minute to kind of set up some support there. But this channel's still in play, so you got your break, and then all of a sudden you're rocketing up, close outside new high. And I like going short there just on the close outside, and then you get a lower high. Definitely take that one. Runs back down, and you're just chopping sideways here. Don't try to enter in that stuff. And you get a little failed break lower. Again, you're better off to wait on the higher low, but these failed breaks, higher and lower, often turn out to be major lows or highs for the day, and you can see that turned out to be a major low. It just keeps going and going. So that would have been a great place to enter. And that's why you got to be careful with these because you're trying to pick bottoms, but it's a little bit different picking a bottom on a range than it is if it was a trend. And this is not necessarily, even though we trended down to this is still a range. You can see how many times we've bounced. If you look, we've even bounced at that level around 7:35 or so this morning. So we bounced there at 7:35, 8:20 something, 10:30 something, 10:50 something, and then we get a little failed break lower. And so I like these. If I think it's going to fail, most of the time I'm going to take it because these, being that far away from the EMA, we're probably going to snap back pretty quickly. Now you might get stopped out. That's the problem if you don't wait on the higher low for get a little more confirmation, is that you might get stopped out. But it's worth the risk because if you catch one of these lows or highs and you catch a runner, I don't know that you catch a runner on this one. That's the problem here. You may not catch a runner. Depends on how you play it. You probably had to give it a little room because you see it comes back here before it goes higher. But if you can catch one of these with a runner, man, that would erase depending on how much of that you get, it erases a lot of losses. And then some. I mean, you might erase a week's or month's worth of losses and add bonus money too. So you really might erase a couple of months or 3 months worth of losses. And that's what really starts to change your math. So it's important to try to get those runners when you can. But anyway, this shoots up. You actually get a close outside here, but it gets back in the range or the channel and keeps working up. Then you get another closeout side and a new high. But I wasn't sure on this one because you already had a break and you kept going. So I think you just sit tight. And you do get two legs back here and a second entry long after this little channel down had played out. But the signal bar is no good. You can't go long there. And once again, it kind of takes off. Close outside, new high. You're working down. And it comes back and it confirms this turns out to be a spike in channel. And it confirms that right there. And this is just like a little failed breakout, really. There's two legs down there, of course, but there's a little range there, and it breaks out and fails. I like trading that back in it, but the main reason I made it blue is it's because it confirms that trend line on the spike and channel. And then it runs up, close outside, runs up, and it just keeps going here. But you do get a close outside and two more legs up that are almost equal to the original leg. But there's a bigger channel here as well, as you can see. Then we come back here, but it doesn't confirm it till up here. And so I just don't see anything in here you can really trade. And then you get up here and you're right into resistance. Now you do get a breakout here with enough room, but it's still dangerous to go long right there when you failed that many times. So if it weren't for this larger channel, if you had this channel only working up with a close outside and a new high in place already, I'd say skip that. But you got the bigger channel still in play. And you can see we're just working the midline all the way up there, both sides of that midline, and we're working. And that's so you get plenty of evidence that that's an accurate channel. You don't even have to know where this is yet if you can find that midline right there. So, but even if you just drew it across the last high and didn't have this yet and couldn't find that yet, didn't have enough experience, you still would be in this original channel above the EMA. So, but going long, there's dangers. That's the reason I marked it green. But it runs up really strong. It looks like one leg. When it comes back here, you get a second entry long off that midline again. So I like going long there because you may get another leg up like this one. And sure enough, you don't quite get a measured leg. You can see it's a little higher there. It goes off the screen. But you do get two legs up before it reverses, and that takes you into 230. And I don't see anything here that would make me feel comfortable going long again. There's a second entry right there, but look how sideways and congested and how close it is to 230 late in the day. This is actually a second entry too. Notice that new high, first entry, second entry. So there are a couple of second entries. That signal bar probably doesn't qualify, so that takes you out of that one. So this would be the only one that you could say, okay, there's a second entry, but really it's an inside bar to this engulfing bar, so it just looks like congestion. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to mark it. So, and then suddenly this breakout does fail and it rushes back. Of course, this is all after 230, so it doesn't really matter. But it comes rushing back, and we close back inside the channel. We've traded out of it now, but we close back into it. So kind of a wild and crazy day. I mean, this is hard trading right here. I'm just going to be honest with you. You have to use your shorter term trends and trend channels, and then there's bigger trends in here that you got to be aware of, and then you're working sideways on top of that, and it's just not an easy day to trade. And so as much volatility and movement as we had, you can see there's not as many trades today as what we have had the last few days. So anyway, yeah, we just had this right here generated this CPI stuff. Once again, stuff regarding the economy rockets this thing up. So there it is. But again, once we opened up, we really mostly were sideways. We did have this late rally that caused us to close higher than what you would have expected otherwise. So, I mean, we were going to close higher regardless because we closed down here yesterday. So even if it closed at the low of the range, we still closed higher. But there's a difference between where we actually opened at 830 here and where we closed Where's that clothesline? I guess it's right in there somewhere. It was 22 points or something like that. 22 points. Oh, I can see it. No, I don't know where my little red line is. I don't see it. But anyway, we closed right in there somewhere. It was like 22 points, 21 or 22 points, versus from where we closed yesterday to where we closed today, which is almost 100 points. So big difference there. So not much movement once the news item had ended. We did go higher. We did make a couple of legs up to a new high and then kind of sold off. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Not much else you can say about today. Again, this is kind of a difficult day to trade. So if you had a hard time today, but it's because it was a hard day. You're rocketing up and then you're trending down, then you're rocketing up again, and you're trending down, then you're rocketing up, and you get a lot of sideways stuff mixed in there, and it's just a hard day to trade. Even though it's a big up day, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason or consistency to the upside or the downside. You get a little bit of everything, and it just makes it harder to trade. So if you struggle today, this is a hard day, a hard trading day. So just keep that in mind. Don't let it get you down. There'll be easier days. There'll be harder days, but there'll be easier days, a lot easier days. So, and the better you get, the easier this will get to trade for you as well. I mean, you can find two or three good trades in here. You might have to be patient, but they're here. Just sit tight, and you'll find your two or three good trades, and you might catch one of those that gives you a runner, and you might have a big day after all. So always keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, and we'll wrap it up, and I'm going to be gone for the next 3 weeks after that. But I'll see you tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.